بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين. اللهم ربنا أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وأرنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. اللهم أرنا حقائق الأشياء كما هي ربنا زدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر أولياءك في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم انصرهم على عدوك وعدوهم إنك على كل شيء قدير. اللهم فرج عنا وعن إخواننا في مشارق الأرض ومغاربها. اللهم نفس كربنا وكربهم وثبت أقدامنا وأقدامهم والطف بنا وبهم يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب العالمين. وصل وسلم على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا ومولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه. Allah Akbar. Ameen. Ameen Ya Rabbi. In this short session, I want to introduce you to this new journal which we just published its first issue in at the start of this year, which was its first issue. So it's a quarterly journal come magazine. And I wanted to introduce you to this journal. The journal is based in Pakistan, so the context is Pakistan and probably Afghanistan, a bit of Afghanistan and Iran as well, because they're so close to us in every sense of the word. But the journal has relevance for all Muslim, what we call Mukhlisin Deen, sincere Muslims, and all Muslim activists and revolutionaries and reformists. All those who are sincere Muslim and believe in non-revisionist Orthodox Islam. Obviously, we also talk to revisionist Muslims and, urge them to, abandon their revisionism. Anyway, so the journal is, as I said, its name is Islami Inqilab, which translates as Islamic Revolution. Because one of the purpose of this journal is to revive. One of the purpose of the journal is to revive the concept of Islamic Revolution. And in modern times, the concept of Islamic Revolution in the subcontinent was basically introduced by Maulana Maududi, who was a great Islamic scholar of Hanafi school, mostly Deobandi school. In fact, he was an editor of a journal, or the official journal of Jamiatul Hind, which was a political wing of Ulama Deoband. He in several of his writings introduce and explain the concept of Islamic Revolution, and then I think partly influenced by him and partly through his own great ijtihad, Imam Khomeini in Shia tradition introduced that concept in his book Al-Hukuma al-Islamiyya, or Islami Hukumat, which is which you can find in a translated version in a book by Hamid Algar called Islam and Revolution. So one of the purposes is to revive the concept of Islamic revolution, because especially among Sunni Islamic movement, they have basically abandoned the concept of revolution. And they become reformist movements. And by reformist movements, we mean that they basically accept the existing capitalist imperialist system worldwide, as well as in the Muslim world, and the secular governments, which were basically secular governments and states which were established by British imperialism and which are protected by American hegemony in the Muslim world. They have come to take that system as a whole as something which is here to stay. So they are no longer aiming to overthrow the system. And they become reformist movement because what they are looking for is work within those secular Muslim governments and states and treat them as if they are, in theory, Islamic state, because they are populated by Muslims, and try to reform those states so they become closer to the Islamic ideal. And the main goal is basically to change the government, mostly through democratic means, and not to change the state. And I think that's a suicidal and wrong-headed strategy, because by accepting the imperial system in the Muslim world, will basically legitimize forms of Islamic capitalism and Islamic democracy, which will ultimately lead to revision of Islam as a whole and its dilution, in the same way in which Christianity was revised and diluted, and to a certain extent Judaism as well. So one of the purpose of this, and obviously in Pakistan, the party which was founded by Mullah Maududi Islami, it has itself abandoned the concept of Islamic revolution, even though it used to, at least rhetorically, still clinch to that concept, but now even rhetorically it has stopped using that word, and it has become basically an Islamic party which accepts Pakistan as an Islamic state potential, at least, and works to basically change the government and reform the state in order to make it an actual Islamic state. And in our opinion, that will lead to reform of Jamaat Islami, not the reform of or deformation of Jamaat Islami and other Islamic parties, and weakening of Islam in Pakistan, and not the weakening of the imperialist backed secular Pakistani state and governments. Okay, so that's one of the purposes of this journal. The other purpose is the main purpose of the journal is to understand capitalism and modernity and as a civilization which is a world dominant civilization. Civilization, I'm using it as, I don't consider it as a civilization, but civilization in terminological sense. It's a world dominant system and civilization. And so we want to understand its basic values, for example, freedom, equality, and justice, and what they mean. And its social system, its notion of self, its philosophy, its metaphysics on which it is based, its political system, especially um, democracy and different forms of democracy, liberalism, different forms of liberalism, and other ideologies like socialism, Marxism, welfare, capitalism, etc. And also want to understand, capitalist economics and how it is related to its politics and its notion of self. Um, Also want to understand its responses to Islamic responses to modernity and why we think that those responses are wrong-headed. So we want to, continue our work which we started around 1990 through this journal. This is the basic purpose. And we want basically to address Islamic youth and scholars of Islam and students of knowledge, because scholars of Islam and students of knowledge, they are the only legitimate leaders of Muslims. And if they don't understand modernity and capitalism and human rights, etc., and different ideologies of capitalism, then it means that they don't understand the reality on which they are supposed to implement or apply Islamic rulings, injunction, Islamic morality, Islamic spirituality, etc. So these are the basic purposes and basic audiences. In the editorial, which is available both in Urdu and English, in the first issue, we have expanded, we have elaborated on all these. So I won't take too much time. I won't dwell on these too much, but I just wanted to mention it. So, and the journal is bilingual, mostly in Urdu, but there are going to be a number of articles in English for our international audiences, as well as in Pakistan, those people who are more comfortable with English because of our imperialist colonial history. And although it is focused on Pakistan, it is our message is universal, because Islam's message is universal, even though it is context sensitive as well, but the core message is universal. So other Muslims in other part of the world can benefit from it and contribute to it. So basically we want to, especially in Muslim youth, we want to sort of persuade them to, if they have inclination to spend, their energies on these topics, and, choose some of the topic as their, field of research, etc., if it gels with their educational background, and contribute to uh, the Ummah and to Islam, basically. Because Islam is not about establishing the hegemony of any specific people, but basically establishing the hegemony of the truth, which is Islam. Okay, so let's quickly go through the articles in the first, just the title of the articles in the first issues to just to give you the idea of the range and diversity of the issues we will be taking. So the um, editorial basically explains the concept of revolution and the purpose of this journal and its audience. And the editorial was written in Urdu, and Dr. Sayyid Arshad translated it into English, so you can read it in English as well here. Revolution will come, my friends. Then there are some theoretical articles on the concept of rationality within Western modernist philosophies, and then concept of rationality in Islam, especially in the context of Imam Ghazali's conception of aql. There are two articles on that. Then there's a short article on tasawwuf. Then there are articles about the current situation. Um, there's an article on Trump's success in election, his victory, and what Islamic revolutionaries can learn from that. And then there's a short statements of a study circle about changes in Syria. And there's an article, sort of exploratory article from a Deobandi perspective, this overall Deobandi perspective about the situation in Syria. And then there's an article on Tehrik Insaf, Imran Khan's movement, and what Islamic revolutionaries can learn from its successes and its losses. In the English article, there is a research article by Yunus Qadri and Ejaz Rashid, who are both economists, about IMF's recent agreements with the Pakistan governments and its assessments according to Islamic perspective. So one of the things which we want to learn and also display is how we can comment on and understand different policies of secular governments and different movements and different events in the world according to an Islamic revolutionary perspective. Then there's another article about Islamic Kalam. It's basically an article about, it's a philosophical article rather than Kalam. And it compares, it basically summarizes the critique of the last Sheikh al-Islam of Usmania Sultanate. What was his name? His name is what was his name? His name was Mustafa Sabri, Sheikh Mustafa Sabri Rahmatullah alayh. It basically summarizes his critique of Kant and gives the background through introducing the purpose of Ilm Kalam and Christian theology, dogmatic theology, and its relation to modern philosophy, etc. American imperialist strategy in East Asia. There's an important article about America's new strategy of containment vis-a-vis China. And then this is a translation of a statement on Syria's situation. And then there's a review of a book by Islamic academic. I don't know his work, but Dr. Arshad has studied his work thoroughly, and he has introduced us to his work, basically. And Yeah, it's a Spiker. Yeah, his name is Hassan Spiker. It's basically a review of his book, um, The Civilization of Liberal Universal Modernity Neutral. No, sorry. The Unraveling of Intelligibility, something like that. I can't remember, but if you if you go into the journal, you will see that's one of Hassan Spiker's book. It's called. Let me check. Yeah, so the book review is about. It's called the book is called The Unraveling of Intelligibility: Elements of Modernity. It's supposed to be a volume one, long review, etc. Okay, and that's it in terms of introduction. And uh, basically, be downloaded from channel can be downloaded from. I'll leave the link to these in the comments to this video, and in the description section as well. Although YouTube doesn't allow me clickable um, link, so that's why I'll put in the comments as well. And this is the email if you want to ask any question, comments, or submit your own work. So you can download the journal from here, and there are actually WhatsApp groups connected to journal where the new issues are posted, as well as separate articles are also posted, and sometimes with some summary separate articles in PDF form are also posted if you are interested in particular articles only. I hope that you'll follow this journal and read it and comment on it and all those things. And from time to time, we will be reading some of the articles in this channel, on this channel. And actually, some of the discussions we had on this channel also will flow into, and already has flown into, the articles which we have. For example, Imam Ghazali's article on Imam Ghazali's conception of aql. It's basically a write-up of based on our reading of the sections of Ihya on this channel, both in English and Urdu. Not all of it, because our actual reading was, much more detailed. But that's a sort of a summary, a part of what we discuss on this channel. So in a sense, there's a sort of organic relationship between this channel and this channel as well. Okay, that's it for now. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك وصلي وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وأزواجه وذريته أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. آمين آمين يا رب العالمين.